Welcome in to a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from the UDL here on this Tuesday morning, a beautiful Tuesday morning in the capital city, wherever you are. Thank you for starting your day with us. We are driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Brand new opening over there in Tennessee yesterday as the brand is growing with Go Chevrolet. Go Express Auto Sales here in Baton Rouge, Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, and up in Tennessee yesterday, the newest member of the Go Chevrolet family opened up. So shout out to Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the entire Go Chevrolet family. Mahtook is here. Noah is in the studio after midterm. Was it midterms or final? Midterms.
How'd you do?
Week.
I did good.
You think you did good, or like you did good?
I got him back. I
Okay.
did good.
Oh, we're all good?
Knock 'em
Okay,
out.
we're all good.
Nice. There you go.
We don't have to worry about
All right,
Noah.
there you go, Mom. He's not dropping out.
Yeah,
I know we were kind of pushing him for the drop out there for a little bit, but
Still are.
We're back on track. We're back on track. Lloyd is here.
I will drop out.
Here on this in this Tuesday morning. Mikie Mahtook 27 holes later
I'm
a
here.
golf tournament.
I
That is
appreciate
why I don't play in golf tournaments. 27 holes. I would
Sounds
be
like it's college
miserable,
days.
bro.
It was a tough one. I appreciate you letting me go play yesterday.
Well, I mean, you can pay your fine.
That's it. So,
No paycheck
my
for-
fine is the balls that I lost yesterday.
Did we place show anything
No.
yesterday?
See,
Nothing.
I will
Nothing.
say this.
You want to blame it on your partner?
No. My
Okay.
partner was great. Kyle Orso, great. Shout out Kyle Orso.
Shout out to Marucci. Still waiting on that bat.
Yep.
Oos.
We won it last year actually. We won our fight
Defending
last year.
champs.
So and then I didn't come. I was not. I didn't have not have my
Son
game.
of a man.
Yeah.
Mikie Mahtook.
Yeah, I
We
wasn't
catches
me.
him off from a Florida win, you know?
This is a
look, I got no
curveball?
voice.
Yeah.
I got no voice. It was not.
Just roll it at me.
Pets' heads are falling off.
You gotta play 27 of these
Brody
things.
Miller's going to be here at 8 a.m. Frank Wilson told you last Tuesday. Mahtook told you last Wednesday. LSU was going to win the game on Saturday versus Florida. Frank got it right Tuesday morning. Mahtook hammered him last Wednesday morning. LSU winners, but still out of a coach. So we got a lot to get to with Mike. You want to get his thoughts on just the last couple of days and what's been going on at LSU. He was at Tiger Stadium. In fact, he saw a couple of recruits walking through the party box on Saturday and saw the crew still working over there as LSU football obviously in a state of adversity here after the win. But heading into Ole Miss, where it kind of feels like momentum is in their corner.
Moment. I never thought. I didn't think I'd say that all year.
Matt Corral doesn't look like he's
he's
going to play.
playing.
Yeah, I think
He's playing.
2 wide receivers down. I mean, just
LSU's
2:30
rolling.
start. LSU kind of feeling a little free. Not
like
worried
it.
about the
I like
heavy.
it.
All right, bro. Love you. So we'll talk a lot about that. Brody Miller, obviously. Brody Miller, his story all over the place. Everywhere I looked up yesterday, I felt like I saw Brody Miller. He was on Feinbaum show. They were talking about the show. They were talking about the article. Sorry about that. The door's open. It's a beautiful morning.
The weather.
Great. It feels great.
It's the
It feels
weather.
great.
It does.
It feels
It's
great.
unbelievable.
It's the weather.
Just revving everybody's
Yeah,
engine
that's
this
right.
morning. We're good.
But Levitard and everybody was talking about it on their show, on the article on Brody Miller, what he published at The Athletic. I mean, everybody is reacting to this story, obviously, from Ed Ogeron. So before we get in, we reacted to it on Sunday night, Mike, and then we had a chance yesterday morning to kind of give a little bit more reaction. You obviously are a very proud LSU alum and somebody who means something to that athletic department. What do you make of the last 4 days of LSU football?
I think it was. I mean, obviously, it was something that we thought was coming. I didn't know it was gonna come like this. I didn't know it was gonna be this happen the way it happened. It's kind of a weird situation. Honestly, I think it's. I don't think people want. You say, oh, you're paying this guy $17 million, and you probably didn't have to pay him. I think it was kind of a best case scenario for both sides. Especially for LSU. I think that if a lot of stuff comes out, I know stuff's coming out now, but, you fire him with cause, all this stuff, and then everything comes out, and then all the skeletons come out. I think it's a bad look on both sides. I think that makes it harder, recruiting-wise, and harder for the next guy coming in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were reacting to the timeline. I think some people saw the money being paid, and people were kind of curious on why now? Why, if you're gonna pay the music? I mean, if you're gonna pay the entire buyout, and you are knowing that you're going to fire him, right? I mean, I was told on Thursday evening it doesn't matter if he beats Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. So why don't you wait until the end of the season and as the days have kind of ticked on since Saturday and since learning, I guess, on Sunday that this was going to happen, I more see the advantage of it, and a lot of it's kind of what we talked about the last few minutes of the momentum of what they're riding now going into
clumsy as hell for an athlete.
He is.
I mean,
first round pick. Huh?
we have a lot of.
It's very confusing over there. It is very confusing over there.
There's a scouting report on that.
But just for that,
in the kitchen.
I mean, just for that is kind of like the carefree attitude that they're playing with now. Now you don't have to answer the questions. Ogeron doesn't have to live with it. I mean, you show up to that Wednesday night radio show now, like, hey, open the phone lines.
I'm out.
You know what I mean?
Come do it in person.
Yeah, right. We'll take all the phone calls tonight. Where you at, J Boy?
Yeah, J Boy.
Yeah, right.
You don't want
Hopefully he's on site tonight.
You don't want this version of O.
Yeah, right. Where's Culotta at? Yeah, a piece of his ass.
Beat his ass with a smile on my face.
But you don't have to deal with all that stuff. You don't have to show up to the radio show worried about if you're going to get trolled. You don't have to show up to the post game press conference wondering if the national guy is going to try to get a shock quote out of you with some question that you're going to have to answer in the heat of the moment. I mean, all of that stuff. The players now a little bit more relieved. Now you know the future. You know where you know where the administration stands. You know where the future of the LSU head coaching spot sits right now. You don't know who it's going to be, but you know that Ed Ogeron's not going to be here next year. So whatever decision and choice you have to make, you now have a little bit of a head start on that.
Yeah, no, I think the recruiting thing is a huge part of it. I think by doing this now, it gives the guys in-house that are probably going to be in-house to go and work these guys again and say, hey, listen, we did this right now because we have a 2-month stretch now of getting the guy that we want. Yeah. And, I mean, that guy's going to be obviously I think he's going to be announced before the first recruiting. I mean,
sure.
He has to be, right?
I think that's why this move was made also. I think that there's something to the early signing period where, I mean, look, man, the decommitment yesterday from Aaron Anderson. Anderson is electric. And what you have to look at from LSU standpoint is how much can we take of this, right? Like, it's going to happen. Yeah. You know that there is going to be there's going to be some fallout from the news that was made over the weekend from LSU football. So you know there's going to be a little bit of a backlash, especially on the recruiting trail. But you have got to limit that. And I think that Scott Woodward is so dialed in to the recruiting aspect and understands just how much that means to the overall functionality of the program that, there is an emphasis to save that.
Well, and it's going to be bigger here because of what Ed O meant to LSU and what his actual job was to be. He was lead recruiter for a lot of these guys. So it comes out that Ed O's leaving. Everybody that reacts to that news is like, well, he recruited me. He recruited me. It's not like at other programs where maybe your head coach isn't as involved. So that's why I think it's paramount for Scott Woodward to be involved too, because he's the next rung up the ladder for all right. At least there's some stability there. With the Scott Woodward, you can kind of quell the storm because O was in everybody's ear he's been recruiting for LSU, and he said he's going to keep recruiting for LSU.
That's the thing. That's the thing, and I do believe that.
Me too.
We're giving you $17 million. You're going to recruit.
Absolutely. Well, I think that the terms of that $17 million is if anything comes up where you're negative recruiting LSU or you are speaking against LSU, you are in jeopardy of this. But the last thing LSU wants to do is end up in a courtroom.
Right.
The last thing that LSU administration athletics wants is to end up in a courtroom under a deposition where you're under oath and you're giving testimony on things that don't even have to deal with this stuff.
Text messages, phone calls,
phone calls, stories from behind the scene. Who was it yesterday? Was it Ross Dellinger that told the story about when John Chavis had the caveat in his contract that was something around $500,000 on a buyout, $400,000, which is a ton of money to everybody to us listening. But $400,000 to the LSU football department is a day's work, right? I mean that's just
a rounding error.
It's just kind of how they operate over there, and they wanted to get into litigation over Chavis over $400,000, and it just opened up all types of like skeletons and you started seeing someone where the bodies were buried, and people were like, whoa, just cut him the check, get him the hell out of here, and shut the hell up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the last thing you want to do is start getting testimony under oath of Ogeron parading some of his chicks through the LSU football office and what it's really been like over the last year and a half.
I'm kind of looking forward to some of those stories.
Yeah. Well, they're out there, bro.
I know. I've heard some. I've heard some.
Like-
I'm like, bro, can you imagine being?
Could you imagine being
a little
DB?
kid or being a little kid, and your mom's quote unquote, this is in quotations, dating Ed Orgeron, and you go to practice and you get to run through the bags. You're hopping over the bags. You have the gloves. You're running routes with the jugs machine. Like
You got some oversized oversized shirt on.
I would love that.
Cleats that are too big. What are you doing here, kid? My mom's with Ed.
The senior that's trying to get ready for Florida. Like, what are we doing?
Could you imagine?
What are we doing?
Could you imagine?
They're having a good time though.
Last year, like some of the guys on the team, like looking around, like
He's taking reps away from me.
This can't be happening right now, is it? Like,
oh man,
just amazing. But they are now. I think LSU is kind of playing the slow drip now,
without a doubt,
where they're just kind of tossing out
Sprinkles.
the stories and letting you know just kind of how shady and greasy it was.
They're gonna be strategic about the stories they do throw out, because now that you paid him, he's gone. Like you don't need to trash him.
Yeah,
you just need to say, hey.
But you do have to make sure that you know.
Yeah, you need to we need to validate why we did it. Yeah.
So, I was confused on the timing. I was confused on the money. I was confused on all that. But the more you step back and had a chance to talk to a couple of people around the program, you understand that, look, for 2021 SEC football powerhouse programs like an LSU, I hate to say it like this, but money is almost no object. When you see the windfall that is coming at you every season, and you're one of the powerful brands within that conference, sure, you are operating under a budget, but that budget is very flexible. And if you have to, in 1 year, pay out nearly $25 million in buyouts of contracts, when you're talking about receiving 17, and then the rest of the staff and however you want to handle that, then you got to go out and hire another staff and a head coach that you've got to potentially pay another buyout out there. I mean, this is going to be a $50 million chunk that LSU football bites off in the month of, in the months of October through December of 2021. It's almost the last quarter of 2021. They're going to spend about $50 million in overhauling what they have right now. And I know that's a ton of money and that's hard to rebound. But when you're an SEC powerhouse football program and you've got potential, a winning program, and that means something where you've got to keep that status, well, you cut the check.
And go back. How much money do you think LSU made winning the national championship in 2019?
The scary thing is, Mikey, about it is that they really weren't able to capitalize post.
Oh, right. Because
you know what I mean?
COVID.
Within it, they were cleaning up. Right. I mean, that season, they were the marketable brand. Everybody was buying LSU. LSU gear was everywhere. You would see LSU all over the place. But they weren't able to capitalize. And this is what Scott Woodward does best, is take a successful story, take it on the road in front of the money and sell it.
Yeah.
Like you weren't able, because as soon as they got that championship, as soon as they're hoisting the trophy and Burrow's lighting the cigar, COVID hits.
Yep.
And as soon as COVID hits, everybody's taken off the road. There's no more gatherings. There's no more presentations. There's no more room full of boosters that are sitting there sipping on their whiskey, thinking and hoping, how and when is he going to ask me how I can help the program?
Yeah.
And as soon as he asks me for $100,000, I'm writing the check for $250,000.
Right.
LSU wasn't able to capitalize on that. And I think that Woodward looks at that window and that time period is very much an opportunity lost, but something that if he has the opportunity again, we got to take advantage of it.
All things equal, when you win a national championship, you make, I know $50 million isn't abnormally, it's an absurd amount of money. But when you win a national championship and you go out and you're able to do the things you want to do after, $50 million, like,
we got it.
Yeah,
that's not gonna put a dent in
especially if you're playing the long game.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Like if we got to swallow the $50 million today for the potential of collecting $200 million down the line, cut the check.
You're just investing, investing in the LSU program.
Cut
That's
the check, man.
100%.
Yeah. Johnson Spillers is our dentist here on the Jordy Culotta Show. They are a general dentistry. They can help you out with pediatric dentistry. They can do everything that you need over there, including Botox if you're interested in it. They've got 2 locations, Gonzales and in Baton Rouge. Get online at johnsonspillers.com. johnsonspillers.com, and they're also on Facebook and social media. Gonzales on Prepara Avenue and Baton Rouge on Perkins Road in between Segan Lane and Bluebonnet online at johnsonspillers.com. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. What was that vibe? What was that atmosphere like on Saturday?
Dude, I was pleasantly surprised about the vibe in the stadium and the fans. I mean, I got there, and the game's at 11. It's hard to get out there. I was planning on getting out there tailgating by 9, and, you know, things happen. I had family in town.
Friday night happened.
Friday nights, you got
My sisters,
yeah.
my wife, they have to get ready.
No shot.
Yeah.
We make it out there at like 10:15. I don't really get much tailgating, which is fine. We go into the stadium, and
Are you on their ass on that, or you just kind of? I mean, you were raised around girls. I was raised around nothing, but so you just know it, bro.
And honestly, I was like, you know, it's early. There's not gonna be that many people out. I was like, there's not gonna be that much traffic. Nobody wants to go to the game. Traffic was terrible. There's a ton of people. I'm like, man, this is gonna be. I go up into the game. And like it wasn't a sold out crowd, but I mean it was probably 85% full, maybe 90. Like it was loud, and we had fun. And I was like, man, in the first quarter. So I'm very optimistic. I'm a very optimistic fan, right?
We're gonna win today.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, right.
But going into this game, I fully expected me to be leaving the game after the first quarter, MFing what's going on. Man, we're trash. Like I know, like whatever.
Fire him.
Yeah. First quarter gets through, I'm like, oh, this is good. Second quarter, I'm like, even after the Hail Mary, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
We stayed the whole game. I'm like, this is what LSU football is, and it was awesome.
Great to be back.
The crowd was great, and like brought a ton of energy. And
the pick six after half, I knew they were going to win.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, like they're going to win this game.
Well, especially you just needed to turn it around because after the Hail Mary,
just kill that momentum.
And then they tied the game. And I was like, oh no! And then I'm like, oh my God! We just keep responding,
just keep giving it TDP,
and we're running the football. Holy crap! What the fuck happened?
I don't know. They don't know.
2 plays.
Oh my God!
I think Jake Pete's called the plays. Like if you're asking me my opinion, I don't know that. Nobody's told me that.
Yeah.
Nobody's officially
said. So you don't think he's been calling plays all year?
I think he's been giving
Ogeron's microphone was flipped up on Saturday.
He wasn't wearing the headset
first
half
5
the game.
games, he was always curled in, like barking into the microphone. And I'm not saying that he was changing the play or telling them what to run. I just know that Saturday looked a lot different than the first 5 games of the season.
Okay, so you look at the numbers, right? And obviously we ran the shit out of it, and like they had 300 plus yards rushing. Max Johnson only had 150 yards passing or so, but he had 100 plus called back on penalties. Like if let's say we don't take those penalties, that happens in football, but let's just say one of those penalties isn't called. He's thrown for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, and we ran for 300 and some yards and however many touchdowns. I'm like, that's a dominant. I mean, it was dominant anyway, but it was super balanced. It would have been super balanced, and like, I mean, it looked awesome, and I absolutely love the 4th down play call. People were like, oh, that's such a stupid. No.
Yeah.
I loved it. And he went opposite, and I loved it.
He threw it 24 times. Rohan pointed it out yesterday. When you can keep him balanced and keep him around that number, Rohan said, anywhere between like 22 and 28, and he throws it 24 times on Saturday, that's almost a perfect number for him to manage the game, especially when you're getting, 36 for 287 out of number 3 back there. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. I mean, and it allows the defense. Right. The defense was so playing in a single-minded mindset against LSU for the first part of the season because they not only did they not respect the run, they were like 3rd and shorts where they were still like having 7 DBs on the field. You know what I mean? It was like
LSU had to throw it.
It was nuts.
Zero running game respect. And honestly, our defense last week was awesome. I mean, I know you have 42 points, and I know it doesn't look at the end of the day. You're like, well, you gave up points. Well, yeah, we had 5 guys that weren't in the lineup as starters. Yeah. We had backup cornerbacks who looked like starting cornerbacks, who are going to be starting cornerbacks, and like, hey man, we played well. They played given all the circumstances and given what's going on. Like, I thought they played pretty solid. They gave up some stuff.
Jimmy Magoo brings up a good point. He says plays and asking like with the plural pronunciation there, and he said he called one play 57 times, but that's what that's what you were looking for in the beginning of the season. Something that was working and something that LSU would scheme towards and say, hey, until you stop what's going on, we are going to slam you into the turf for the next 2.5 hours. Florida had to get on that plane mentally beaten more than they were physically beaten. I mean, Todd Grantham and Dan Mullen had to have an intense flight ride home just thinking like, man, they ran the same play at you all day. They ran counter at you all day. You can go watch that on a 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th grade football field every Saturday and Sunday, and they're figuring out how to stop that. How did we not figure out how to stop their simple counter tray run where, I mean, Ed Ingram looked,
he was a baller.
Bro,
dude.
I mean, he looked like freaking Trey Turner.
Dude, on that first touchdown run when they're both pulling Ed Ingram and
Anthony Bradford.
and
He
Anthony
flat-backs
Bradford,
him.
bro,
Yeah.
they're both coming downhill and they are lined up perfectly, like hat on a hat. And Ingram just dominates that guy, gets him flat on his back, and then gives him the old look down. It's like, that's the offensive line that I'm used to seeing, like, with a little bit of, like, nasty and a little mean in you.
No.
And I was like, and Ed Ingram has been that player before. So it was just shocking that it went away, but to see it come back was excellent. Ole Miss has to be a little scared
And our
because,
new tight end.
yeah, is he
He
a
was
scholarship?
awesome.
No, he was a walk. He's a walk on, but
quarterback.
he's going to earn it.
Yeah.
He's already earned it.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was. I mean, Coach O said. I mean, say he's a starting tight end.
It's got to be. I
Jack
mean,
Mashburn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously Besh is the guy. I mean, they do tip a little personnel.
You have
I mean,
to.
when Mashburn's in, he tips run. When Besh is in, he tips pass. I think you can get to a point with Pesh
both in.
where
You
he's
put
on the
both in.
field almost every play because he's that dynamic. But Mashburn and what he brings you in the run. I mean, he was the difference maker. I mean, he
So
was
crazy.
He was
was.
the absolute difference. He looks great in a uniform. The cowboy collar is so fucking cool, man.
How big is he?
That's what I
Do
was
we
about
know?
to look up.
Let's
Did
see.
you say he was a walk-on
He was
quarterback?
a walk-on quarterback.
Quarterback?
He was a quarterback.
I followed him on Instagram last night, and
Yeah.
he was little. Not
Yeah.
like little in the sense of like not tall, but he does not
like,
look the way
yeah.
he looks now. They don't know. They put like an uncomfortable amount of weight on
6'3",
him.
225.
Yeah, he was probably 190. So
Wow.
he's gained
Good-looking
30 pounds.
quarterback.
Yeah,
No shit.
I mean,
and he's mean as hell.
And now he's a blocking tight
and
end.
he's-
He's a blocking
wow,
tight end.
that don't look
6'3".
like him, does it?
No.
And
I
he's-
mean, rosy red cheeks and curly hair.
Curly
bro.
looks like a quarterback.
He
like a
does.
quarterback.
He does.
And the touchdown block, he played it perfectly. He did like one little stunt outside to get that outside linebacker to jump so he could seal the inside. It was just textbook.
Talk about giving your all for LSU. Like, I'll walk on the quarterback. You don't need a tight end.
Manda-
I'll play tight end.
Mandeville kid.
Yeah, just wanted to be
St.
out
Paul's.
Yeah.
I mean, Covington is just walking around with 82s everywhere, bro.
Damn.
Didn't
That's
think he was
crazy.
going to be the guy, but look, it's Jack.
Yeah, man. Smash burn.
Smash burn.
Neil DiBenedetto inside of the bunker.
I'm curious to see if that 6'3" is actually 6'3".
Yeah,
or if it's-
yeah. I mean-
or if it's like a hey, let me
Yeah,
please.
little 6'1.5". We'll call it 6'3".
After that, you're 6'3".
That's right. Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Remember, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew over at RMB. They can help you out with a total overhaul, reconstruction of a house. If you want a custom design home, they can build one for you today. RMB-builders.com. We're anticipating talking to Coach Wilson here at 7:30. We'll see if he dials us up like he does routinely here on Tuesday and talk to him. Look, he called it last weekend. He said that Ogeron and LSU were gonna bounce back and get the win, and they did that last weekend. And we'll talk to him about his squad as McNeese last weekend rolled up Northwestern 35-17, and they will have is Incarnate Word back on? Did they play Incarnate Word twice?
I think so. I think that's how that Southland Conference goes. It's kind of wild.
Wow. So Incarnate Word is coming to Lake Charles this weekend. We will talk to Coach Wilson about that. But remember, over at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com, all of our podcast is brought back to you there. At
Got a win over Northwestern State.
RMB-Builders. Yeah, rolled them up 35-17 on Saturday. So we'll wait and see if Coach Wilson gets into the conversation here. But you got any idea on who could be next? Do you have any? I mean, I know that we're all kind of guessing.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Woodward this is kind of the way he does business. You know what I mean? He kind of wants us all guessing on it.
Why is everyone so concerned at LSU about the money? Why is everybody so concerned about everybody else's money? It's only here it seems like that LSU is like, I don't know if we have the money. It's always comes back to money, but it seems like they have plenty.
Well, I don't know if they're dishing out so much of it to dead employees, not dead, but to
literally dead.
Dead money.
non-working
Yes.
employees. You know what I mean? I mean, if you think about the money that they have distributed to people that they have asked not to work over the last 3 years, I mean.
Right, but is
It's
it
scary.
possible for that to even run out? I mean, I guess in a COVID-stricken year.
SEC football, bro.
in
It doesn't
2020,
look
that's
like
what I'm
it.
saying.
Here's
Like,
Coach Wilson. Hold tight. Take about 30 seconds. We'll
take a
come right
break.
back. Yes, sir. Is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Let's jump into our conversation. Every Tuesday morning, we catch up with Frank Wilson, head football coach over at McNeese State, Louisiana's own, proud Louisiana son, back over in Lake Charles now, leading the Cowboys, and they get a nice win last weekend versus Northwestern State, 35-17. Pokes get the W. They'll be back home in Lake Charles this weekend for the second go at Incarnate Word this weekend. It is our pleasure to welcome into the conversation, just like we do every Tuesday, the Pokes head coach, Frank Wilson, here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jordy. Doing well, man. How about you?
Doing okay, man. Congratulations on the win. You had to like what you saw from your team on Saturday.
We did, man. To get this conference won was a big deal for us. Oldest rivalry in Southland Conference history. Been playing Northwestern since 1950. Big deal for them, big deal for us. And so to be able to go out and to play well against a very talented team. Brad Laird is my peer. We played against each other when he was at Northwestern. I was at Nichols, and certainly he does a great job in heading that program. But to stack the first one and now to prepare for the next one is something we look forward to. But just proud of our team. Felt we played outstanding defensively. Did the things we needed to do offensively, played with short ends of the field, and was able to punch some things in. But did it with Josh Parker, captain of Baton Rouge, one of the Baton Rouge natives, was our leading rusher and got his first start of his collegiate career. So proud of our football team and how we competed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Josh. 16 carries, 274 yards. For him on Saturday, 2 scores, as you mentioned, coming out of Catholic High School as he's a freshman for you. The nod and going to him, and you had to love the way that he responded.
Yeah, we're down. You know, we were starting Steph Hutterson. He transferred from Tulane out of Petal, Mississippi, who was our leading rusher, did a great job for us. He went down with an injury, and then our second guy went down, and so we had to call upon Josh. And, boy, did he answer in a big way for us. So, a little banged up in some spots for us and wasn't quite sure how to turn out. Just knew we would play extremely hard with some guys in reserve roles, and they stepped up and they played well for us, man. And, of course, Josh Matthews also, Dunham High School out of Baton Rouge, had a good day for us, had a touchdown catch on the day. So all in all, found a way to get it done and played extremely hard as a team. Mason Pierce, young man who was actually from Texas, but you remember his dad, Aaron Pierce, played at Curtis?
I don't remember him.
Yeah, so right after Jonathan Wells and those guys, he was the tailback there. Yeah, Aaron was, and was a great player here at McNeese. It's actually his son, who is right now our top go-getter as a specialist in the conference and one of the better receivers, and he had another outstanding game for us.
As a recruiter, you've seen this story so many times. I got to imagine as a recruiter and now and being in the head coaching spot, it's even more gratifying to see some of these young guys that you're selling the message to, get them in the program, and they get their opportunity and they respond. I mean, that's kind of the life cycle of a football player, and you as a recruiter and as a head coach have to love to see that from your program and just some of the young days here of you on the job.
Yeah, well, it is. It's always good to see things come to fruition. You recruit those guys to come in and to contribute right away. And we're in the situation at our program where we say to them, if you're looking for a place to go sit down and don't play for 4 years, then we're probably not going to recruit you. We're looking for a guy that's ready to play, or within the year will be ready to play. because that's the type of talent we need to recruit here to get us back to where we would like to be. And so we have a lot of young guys playing all over the place. Started 3 of the 5 offensive linemen as true freshmen as well. And it eventually comes to bear itself. And you're able to recruit to that because guys want to play. Guys want to contribute early. And a place where they can go get developed and be in position to play early is extremely significant for them and us as well.
How is this week of preparation moving for you?
Good. We got a big one, man. There's 2 teams that sit at the top of our conference. Right now it's Southeastern and Incarnate Word. Both of our losses to those teams, we get a chance to play both of them twice. And if we're able to split it with them, then we just might be poised and in position to give ourselves a chance to compete for this conference championship. We played well, man. We played everybody in the conference well and outside of the conference except this Incarnate Word team. And so we got to figure this out. We got to get going. I like our game plan. Been in meetings all morning already with our offensive staff and ways of trying to generate some points and to slow them down as well. They stole one from Nichols last week. Nichols had a pretty hefty lead on them and at the back end pulled it off. So we want to represent ourselves. It's homecoming here in Lake Charles. Nice. And so we got a lot to play for. It's a conference game. It's homecoming. It's a new rival for us in our conference. And it's about our time to try to get a W for our football team.
We saw Cody Ogeron dig himself off the mat numerous times in Baton Rouge in that second playing date of the season. Over the weekend, he goes 16 for 25, 176, and 2 scores. How has this senior year gone for him up until this point?
He's doing some good things for us. He really is. We've kind of played musical chairs up front at times. And so to have continuity chemistry is important because that's how that unit plays. And if they play well, he'll play well, and it'll allow him to be more settled and more composed in the pocket there. And he's an athletic quarterback that can create on the run with his feet. But we got some things designed to get him out on the perimeter, but also at times to keep him in there and throwing. We got to be able to protect him. Yeah. But he's been a stud for us. He's having a really good senior season for us. We'll leave here one of the more heralded quarterbacks in the history, if not the most heralded quarterback in the history of McNeese. We just got to make some plays around him, and we got to take the intermediate paths for touchdowns and the short passes for big gains. And if we're able to do that and he not have to just drop back and launch every one of them, that's when we're able to play our best football. And so right now, trying to continue to put the ball in those playmakers' hands. We have a few. Certainly we need more, and we're looking for guys even from within our team to step up to play that role for us.
Coach, can you talk about the difference in physical preparation compared to mental preparation and how you handle that every week with your team?
Yeah, so for us right now, physical preparation is more technical. And watching our last outing against our upcoming opponent, we got guys that we have a body on a body, a head on a hat. But now, how do you teach him to refit, drop his hips, and strain to win? Mm-hmm. To strain that by any and every means, I put my body between the defender and the ball carrier, and I am relentless as I try to get it done. And so we have strain drills where you're engaged with a guy you at a certain level, and then you drop your hips and you take your shoulders and you pin it inside of them and you just strain to win. That's an art. That's a physical piece or segment that you have to train to do because you can't play tall. And even when you come off flow, you rise up. Your hips unlock and you rise up. Okay, now you're in that compromising position. The ball begins to go downfield. What happens next? When that guy tries to disengage from you or to dislodge and shed away from you, how do you counter that? And so we work a strain drill where we train them how to drop their hip strain to get between the defender and the ball carrier. Where from a mental standpoint, our Sunday practices, Monday's our day off here. We practice on Sunday the day after, stretch and stride and corrections so we can put it behind us. But that's a big mental day for us, right? where we go through every correction, we go through every look that gave us an issue, look that we think we can build upon for the next week, and then this film study day. That if you're just watching film with your position coach, then you're not doing enough. That's not enough. There's not enough time in the day in the allotted time that we give you that you have to study. You have to bring this information home. And so there's constant notes and tips and reminders and corrective things that we give our players, as well as complimentary things of the things they did well that they take home with them on a daily basis because they're able to watch practice and or game on their iPads. But the mental part of it is you just said, or the question you ask is so critical.
Yeah.
That psychologically, mentally, to be engaged, to see the advantages. It's one thing to tell them about it, but when they see it and then they're trained in how to do a specific deal, it becomes more relevant to them.
Cowboy Stadium this Saturday, noon kickoff. Incarnate Word in Lake Charles taking on McNeese. Big one for the Pokes and Coach Wilson as they'll be back in Lake Charles at home hosting this one. Coach, you were the associate head football coach at LSU for 5 seasons and widely recognized as one of the best assistants that ever has come through Baton Rouge. You have seen the pressures of that head coaching seat, and you were just one click away from it during your time here. Your friend is Ed Ogeron. You told us last Tuesday he was going to win the game on Saturday. They won the game. He ended up losing his job on Sunday. Can you just talk about the overall feeling of the LSU gig, the pressure that comes along with it, and your friend Ed Ogeron and his 5-year run on the job?
Biggest job in the state of Louisiana. Yeah. Biggest job in the state of Louisiana, maybe even bigger than the one in New Orleans for our beloved Saints. It's just something different. And we all love the Saints, but to be the head coach at LSU comes with a tremendous price tag and tremendous prestige as well. And he knows, we know all too well what that encompasses of. Talk to coach before and just and not in a whole bunch of words, just hey, do what we do. Let's compete. And I was in the same boat. We were trying to find a win. He was trying to find a win. And I felt I just know him. I knew he would get that football team ready to play, and they'd go out and play well. And because it's happened before. It's happened in an unfortunate year with Troy, and they came back and played Florida and played lights out. And not Troy, I'm sorry. Troy. Yeah. And so just figured, I just know him. He's a fighter. He's a fighter. If he don't know how to do anything else, one thing Baby Ogeron, his dad, taught him was to fight. And he had a big part of impressing that upon me as a player back in 1992 at Nicholls State. And so, I knew they would fight extremely hard and have a chance to win that game. And even when we talked last week, I was sincere. He'll get them to play. Yeah. They'll play lights out. The realities of expectation and what's done at LSU, I'm respectful of. I listened to a little bit of the press conference with he and Scott Woodard and respectful of the things that Coach has said. That he loves LSU. He was honored and privileged to serve at his dream job and accept the decision that they've made and they've mutually parted ways. So I respect it as well. That's part of the volatile job that we or profession that we're engaged in. The Tigers will be okay. Coach will be okay. Hopefully they can go out and finish this season in fine fashion and go out the way that I know he would like to and they would like to, deservingly. And so wishing all the best for everyone down in Baton Rouge.
Can you take us to the front lines of being a college football coach and just what that profession is from our vantage point? We see the money, we see Saturdays, we see pictures on the field with Leonard Fournette after he scores and sets a rushing title for a school that you were recruiting him so far in advance of. But these are the things that we may not pay attention to. We see the money is obviously something that everybody talks about publicly, but just the trade of being a college football coach and that can happen to you at any moment. What can you just take us to the front line of that?
Yeah, an unwavering commitment to serve, to be willing to take the most precious thing you can give someone, time, and dedicated to a group of young men, a staff, a university, a football program. And in doing so, as you serve those people, that university, something is getting shortchanged, and it's your beloved ones. It's your family, it's your kids, it's your spouse, and things of that nature. And I don't think anyone could ever understand the realities of that the recital, the little league game, the choir deal, the father-son, the father-daughter deals that you miss along the way because you give your life, you entrust your life into your job. I have to admit, and I've said this to people I've been very close with, I try my best to be the best coach that I can be. I try to be the best husband I can be and the best father I can be. And outside of that, it gets tough for me because I'm not the best friend. I'm not the best sibling because I try, and I don't do that intentionally. But the time, there's no time. I don't have time to give back to those who I love. They're understanding. They understand my profession, but I just don't have the time. But once you do your job, once you take care of your responsibilities in your household, there is no more time. It's precious. Those moments, those minutes, those days, those hours are so precious that people take for granted. And so when Johnny comes to your office and say, "Coach, I'd like to talk to you about," I have a player here who last week uncle was staying with him, or he was staying with his uncle here in Lake Charles, and they're playing in the house, and he hears the baby scream. He turned around. His uncle is having a heart attack, and he runs over to give him mouth-to-mouth, and uncle dies in his arms. This is last Monday. How do you handle that? You know, he has class, he got midterms, he got practice, and so all of that becomes secondary to what's most important, and that you're being there for him. All right, so you're there for him for that moment. Now what happens when you go away with that kid? What happens? That what just happened for him is extreme. You know, that he died. His uncle died in his arms, and he got to go to practice, and he has to go to class. And so that's one of the many things in that isolated incident, because you still got Johnny over here whose girlfriend upset that he cheated on her and she egged his car or cut his tires. And how do you help him handle that? And so there's many things to juggle along the way as a head coach and being engaged in it and delegating people and having support staff to help you help navigate these young men's lives. It's real. It's also so ever real. And so my days at LSU, they used to call those kids Frank kids. And so
that's right. That's right.
So all my babies, all my boys who had all those issues. That's
what a Frank's son.
That's what we. Yeah, we specialized in putting out those fires and helping them navigate and mature into this thing we call manhood. And there's so many stories, as you know, also well, from one player to the other, all the way into the NFL draft with Lyle Collins and him crying in my chest the day of draft day after the unfortunate unproven thought process that was out there. I mean, but it's a lot, man. It's a lot that goes into the day-to-day operation. And when you're vested, when you're into it, when you bought in, you're in. And that's the only way you can do the job well. Absolutely. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You can't just want to talk X's and O's. You got to be thoroughly immersed in their lives. And then to do that is a tremendous sacrifice because you're taking away from someone as well. And that's generally the ones that are at your household.
We jumped on the elevator going up to the club level for the Auburn game with Big Freak Johnson, Anthony Johnson, who looks incredible right now. I mean, he looks incredible. And Thorold Simon. And we started talking about the family and that recruiting class and how much Coach Wilson and Frank meant to all those guys. It's got to be cool to coach your son with that mindset now, to have Quad on the roster now kind of brings that all together, right?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's challenging. It's funny you asked that because he plays on my team. All right, and you would think that's even more time. And because I want him to be normal, as normal could be, because he doesn't want anything preferential. I see him at team meeting. I see him at practice. And then I run behind him and say, hey, come talk to me. Like, Dad, I got to go, you know. And so I got to force him, hey, come home right now and make up something. Come take out this garbage. He's like, I don't even live home. You're taking out the garbage. And it's honestly just my way, Jordy, of being able to fill a moment with him because they fly by. You know, those moments fly by. And but yeah, it's nothing more exhilarating than, you know, he goes down, run down on kickoff. He's a four-core guy for us on our special teams, and you know, probably top 3 point getter overall on teams for us. And you know, he'll do something good, and I'm able to go chest bump him and good job, boy, or whatever, you know. And he kind of just give me a pound fist. And, you know, I want to hug him, but he don't want to hug, so he give me a little pound.
Get your ass home and take the trash out, boy.
I'll hug you in front of all these people.
It's been great to watch you work, man. Go get their ass this weekend. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thank you guys so much. Go Pokes.
Yes, sir. There he is, Frank Wilson checking in from Lake Charles this morning. Big one for the Pokes on Saturday as they will host Incarnate Word. A good little behind-the-scenes conversation there with one of Ed Ogeron's friends, somebody who understands coaching at that level, somebody who understands in coaching at LSU. He was a click away from that seat. He was the associate head coach under Les Miles, so you got to think out loud now. For a lot of the majority of the season, he was probably the head coach on the team behind the scenes. He was the one behind the scenes saying, look, we can't do it like that. We got to do it like this. So he understands as much of that seat as Ed Ogeron is going through. So that was really good perspective to hear.
Pretty cool to hear how important he puts the relationships, you know, how high up on the totem pole and like his career that he puts relationships. And I think it makes a huge difference. I mean, we talk about culture here all the time and how the culture is, you know, needs to change and this and that. And that's how it changes. You know, you have the guys that believe and trust in you. I mean, look, people come from everywhere. Yeah. All different backgrounds.
That's a locker room, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a locker room is that, yeah.
Any locker room, you don't know everybody's story, right? But getting to know their story, asking about their story, being sensitive to their story, empathetic to their story, builds trust and it builds the relationship. And I mean, y'all know, everybody knows, everybody's been in their life where they've trust somebody. And when you fully trust someone and you have faith in that person, like, you'll do whatever you have to do to protect them and to win for them or whatever you're doing. And it's to hear him say that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was good insight from Frank Wilson as he stops by with us every Tuesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show. So make that appointment listening for you. Set your reminder every Tuesday morning at 7:30. You can check in with Frank Wilson and listen what he's got going on. We're brought to you daily by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, over at Falaya, they're changing the way that real estate is bought and sold. If you're looking to sell your house this fall, in the winter, next spring, give Falaya a thought. It's for sale by owner on steroids. Listing plan starts at $399. You can sell your house by yourself. Save thousands with Falaya. For more information, visit Falaya.com or download the Falaya app today inside your Google or Apple store. You can find them online at Falaya.com. Call Barrett Blondo. Easy to get in touch with B. Call in this morning at 225-939-6153. 225-939-6153. That is Falaya Real Estate. We're going to talk to Brody Miller here in a couple of minutes. Brody obviously has an article that is being talked and read throughout the college football world and is being reacted to all over the place. We told you yesterday, I was listening to Levitard and friends. They were reacting to Brody Miller's piece. Paul Feinbaum had Brody Miller on his show yesterday, asking Brody about the latest in some of his reporting. So the world is really is reacting to the Ed Ogeron firing, and a lot of that is pointing to Ed in Brody's article as some of the things that obviously were the reasoning for him being removed. So we'll talk to Brody coming up here in a couple of minutes.
And he pumped out another article this morning.
Did he?
Yeah, I mean, the man.
Working hard.
Good God.
Working hard.
Bro, you partied yesterday, huh?
2 days ago. 2 days ago. Saturday. I mean, the voice.
That's tailgate voice.
Okay, so let me give you a story. Let me give you a story of why my voice is on. Okay, so I went in there fully expecting to be mellow and whatever. Well, I'm in there. So
Isn't that how it always starts?
Just a couple beers
We
with
were
the
just
boys.
going to chill, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm in the suite, and it's me.
Not getting rowdy.
It's me, my wife, Allie, Andrew Stevenson, his wife. We're sitting next to each other, and there are these 2 Florida Gator fans, and these 2 girls were wearing jerseys. I have no problem with that. They're in a suite that's not their suite. They're there as guests. So they're wearing these jerseys, and I'm okay with it. Like, I have no problem. You can do the Gator chomp. You can do whatever you want.
Bad day to be wearing that jersey.
You can be excited. Well, when you start doing stuff that's like obnoxious and over the top in someone else's suite on the front row where everybody can see, it's just like, I didn't really like it. So
Took exception to this.
So they were
And
doing
I took that personal.
It was like a 6-yard gain, 7-yard gains, and they were just doing all this obnoxious Gator chomps. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna be real petty, and I'm just gonna go louder and harder when we go. And so every time we'd score or get a big play, I was yelling. I had the Allie and Stevenson's wife. They're Gator chomping. We were being real petty, and ended up working out. And like, they were nice people. They weren't bad. It was just, you picked a fight. The switch flipped, and I was ready to go. And so my voice went with it.
The funniest thing is he's not even cheering for LSU. He's just cheering at these people.
Against them.
What happened? I don't know, but something good.
The chomp slash.
Yeah, I was not happy. But then I was happy. I was not happy, then I was happy.
Good to see the carpool queen here.
She's here.
Wow, fresh kicks again,
Look at those.
bro.
Look at those.
Damn. One-upped yesterday's corduroy Sherberts. Telling you, the Monday Katie kicks from October 18th mark the date. Those are the 1 seed going in. All right, starting off the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Brody Miller coming up here in a couple of minutes. Remember, we're driven and powered by Go Chevrolet over here on the Jordy Culotta Show. GEAUXChevrolet.com. Go Express Auto Sales is on Florida Boulevard in Sherwood Forest. Here in Baton Rouge, LaPlace, Louisiana, brand new cars. And then they opened up yesterday or earlier this week in Tennessee. So the brand is expanding over at Go Chevrolet as they are now up in Tennessee and open for business. So if you're up there, go check out Go Chevrolet as they are now the newest member of the Go Chevrolet family down here in South Louisiana. Come back, we'll have Brody Miller for you right here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember, over at A-Bears, they can get you going for the tailgate as anything that you need. Or if you need something to cook on this week, the home of the deboned stuffed chicken over at A-Bears. Easy to pick up over on Highway 73. New location coming to Robert's grocery store. I don't know why I forgot the word. The Robert's grocery store they got 625 feet of
deboned chicken
of space in there, like right next to Superior.
I'm gonna have to go in there and get it.
Yeah, bro.
I love
Lafayette
the A-Bear
native.
burgers. Love the A-Bear burgers.
That's right. You can pick up the ground patties as well over there in Highway 73 at A-Bear Specialty Meats. Shout out to Jay Maggio, who enjoyed last week's LSU football game versus Florida. Compliments of tickets from A-Bears. So A-Bear Specialty Meats taking care of all of our listeners here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you're worried about it and you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or JordyCulottaShow.com and you see this big power forward rolling around the floor taking pictures, that is our guy Jordan Peck, who is taking a couple of shots of our shoes today. And my man will do anything he can to get the shot, which we appreciate very much. And if that means straddling a drum in the middle of the room, he'll do it.
Shirt off?
He'll do it.
It's all about the
He'll do
angles.
it, bro.
All about him.
Legs up, elbows down. No worries for Peck.
Doing a Lamaze class over here.
Brody Miller, the most popular man in journalism right now. Everywhere I look, and everywhere I listen, I see Brody Miller. They were talking about him on Le Batard yesterday. Paul Feinbaum had him on yesterday. All of the talking heads around college football are speaking about Brody Miller's article over at The Athletic, and this is just kind of summarizing Ed Ogeron's time at LSU and how it came to an abrupt end on Sunday. And we catch up with Brody just like we do every week here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good to talk to you, man. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me as always.
Absolutely, buddy. Did you imagine that your schedule was going to be as full as it was after you published your story on Sunday?
Oh God, yeah. I guess it's. I guess whenever you have a coach firing of this magnitude, you assume you're going to be a pretty busy man, but maybe not as much as this week now.
So take me through the last 72 hours in covering LSU. What has it been like from your vantage point?
Yeah, it's been weird because I think you can shoot you on it as much as anyone. This is something that's been happening for weeks and months, so it was almost like the chaos was really in the past, the past week or the past 2 weeks. I think that's where a lot of the craziness, the reporting, all that stuff's really going on. And then to some extent, I mean, yes, I think what you're alluding to is after the story ran, yeah, there's some frustration and things like that. But in the grand scheme, I think things are a little, I don't know. I'll even go to Ed Ogeron's comment yesterday. I think there's a little bit of like a weight off now that everything's out there. So in terms of just covering LSU, I'd actually say things are kind of simpler. I don't know how to put it, but I think that like there's a lightness, I think, from it being over. But yeah, it's been as well as I, a crazy few months covering LSU, just of this thing that everyone's known is kind of happening, and it's kind of a Shakespearean kind of tragic story.
Did you get the sense of relief on Sunday? Did you feel that again on Monday? I know that they're football coaches by nature, and they want to compete. They want to be in the locker room, and they want to win. Obviously, $17 million will lighten the blow. But did you sense the relief on not only Ogeron but maybe even Scott Woodward?
I do. I got something there, and sure, maybe it's a little bit of they've had time to process this by now. You know what I mean? Like it's fresh to us. They're still processing it. But I did notice it. You could even see, considering now that we know after like the talks were going on throughout much of last week to come to this agreement, you could even see in some of Ogeron's interviews throughout the week, or especially Saturday, there was no longer him necessarily trying to protect certain things or fight certain things. It was I know what's happening, and I am come to terms with it, and there's nothing I can do, so I'm gonna just and I think winning that game especially, there was just that a little bit of just like, hey, this is cool, and like and I do agree with what Ogeron said. I do agree that there was kind of just this weight lifted a little bit, and they were able to kind of go attack and have nothing to lose and have fun a little bit. So yeah, it kind of sounds corny, but I do think like you said, you saw it in Woodward a little bit. You saw it in Ogeron in his press conference. I think there's a little bit of, hey, I won national title here. I'm getting some money out of this, and I'm not going to make this a hostile thing. My life's going to be okay. I think there's something to that.
In your reporting or in your research and trying to find the details on this, do you get an idea of anybody who could make it past the firing? The Austin Thomases of the world, the Mason Smiths of the world, the Corey Raymonds of the world. Do you imagine anybody to be retained after this move is ultimately pivoted? When he's out the door.
Yeah, check. I think you hit the three that definitely came to my mind that I've heard floated around, and obviously it's a little speculation until a hire's made, of course. But yeah, I think Austin Thomas and Mason Smith are two people who I think it's relatively safe to say were not brought in just dependent on who the head coach was at that very moment. Those were people brought in by the athletic department more than Orgeron himself. So absolutely, I think those are guys who, especially, have a role of managing the program all around, and it's not just, they weren't just, serving Orgeron. So they're people they would like. They're people who have really good reputations at what they're good at in recruiting, roster management, different things, top to bottom. Mason Smith, a guy who, it's safe to say is very, very important to LSU's 2022 class and other classes going forward. So I think it would probably be a bright move to keep him around for those reasons. And Corey Raymond, yeah, granted, I don't know what Corey Raymond wants. He's flirted with other places over the years, but I would be surprised if whoever takes this job is not fighting to keep him. And this is just me speculating. I have the other three I've heard things about him. So, but the other one I just speculate, just wonder about is, would there even be a desire to keep a Brad Davis, considering he's a guy who only came over in July, is kind of an up-and-coming coach, Baton Rouge guy. I just wonder. I wonder if there's a desire to keep somebody like that it's – I don't think anyone can really blame the offensive line struggles this season on him, and he's a sought-after line coach. I just wonder, but that's me completely speculating.
Brody, so obviously, I think I know the answer to this question, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, we have two new coordinators, right? You have Peets and you have Jones on offensive defensive coordinators. Do you think every coach wants to bring in their own guy and their own staff, but do you think these guys can maybe have, this is an extended job interview of the last 5 games for these guys? Maybe they go out and defense turns around, but looks special, offense looks special, and the new coach comes in, I kind of like those guys, maybe keep some continuity with the new staff.
It's a good question. Ironically, I'd say Ed Orgeron is the greatest example of trying to treat things like that as a job interview, because there's that great story of when he was at USC when the Paul Hackett staff was fired, and everybody there is like, all right, screw it, it's over, and they didn't do anything, and Ed Orgeron was like, just kept recruiting like a savage, and that's why Pete Carroll kept him on. So there's almost a lesson to learn from that, ironically. I do think there's something to that. I don't, and like you alluded to, I would be pretty surprised if Jay Peets and Durante Jones are still coordinators at LSU next year, especially considering the big fish LSU's looking at. But yeah, I don't think they're bad football coaches. I think they're young, bright coaches who have good futures in some capacity. So I do think this is, even if not at LSU, this is a job interview for them these next few games. Right. This is absolutely a chance to just show what they can learn and to have a little more freedom and things like that. I do think that. Would I be surprised if they're coordinators at LSU? Absolutely. But I agree with your sentiment completely.
What made Saturday look so different on offense? We speculated yesterday. I thought Jake Peets was calling the plays. I thought that he just kind of, Orgeron had his microphone flipped up on his headset, and he was kind of just saying, hey, boys, go run what you got. And that was my speculation. What from your vantage point made Saturday look so differently on offense, especially running the football like they did?
Yeah, I think there was the interesting thing that Ty Davis-Price said after the game about Jack Marucci kind of coming to them. Obviously, they're, the legendary former trainer, now director of performance innovation, does so much bright stuff, coming to them with schemes and formations and types of things they can do running the ball that data shows that these certain players are better at and these linemen are better at and all of that. And again, that's not like taking credit away from Jake Peets, but I do think there's something interesting there in that I think the thing we've talked about on this show for weeks is that I think Jake Peets is a really sharp guy who knows the passing game, but I think the main things I've heard from inside that program are he's just still learning, the overall way to structure an entire scheme by building the run game with the passing game and having them all connected and setting things up. I think that's the thing he's just still kind of growing with, and the putting the puzzle together, I guess is the best way to put that. And I think that's really interesting if that story is 100% accurate, that Marucci probably did help kind of come in with a little bit of run game knowledge there, and maybe they did kind of put things together a little bit. Because, that offense looked like a completely different machine. It just looked like they were in charge of things. It looked like they knew what they're doing. The offensive line blocked with a certain, confidence, for lack of a better word, that I have not seen from them. They ran differently. It just, everything was real. So I think you're seeing Jake Peetz. I wouldn't even say it was like, oh, they finally gave him the freedom. I think he's kind of slowly coming into his own.
Yeah. Matt Corral's questionable. We all expect him to go on Saturday. They're down 2 wide receivers, Ole Miss. Does LSU feel like they got the momentum going into Saturday?
I wouldn't say like they have the momentum, but they certainly there's something. I mean, let's put it this way. There's a handicapper who I just trust deeply, Colin Wilson over at the Action Network. I think he's a brilliant guy, and he immediately put in an LSU plus 10.5, pick on Sunday or Monday. I think he likes him. So I think there's something there where, I think you're seeing them play with a little more freedom right now. And now you probably even more freedom after the news officially is out. And, you have Ole Miss, who is really, really good and better than LSU, but has played a pretty tough schedule lately and is probably a little beat up in all these, and just not even just the known injuries, but how that kind of compiles when you have that many tough games. I think there's something to this should be a competitive football game, Then you do factor in, they are without their 4 best players and all these starters. So at the end of the day, I don't know if I would be sitting here saying I'm taking the plus 10.5 or anything like that, but I see the rationale. LSU's doing some things. They have a lot of young talent. I don't think it's a no-shot game or anything like that.
Do you think O's going to look back at this, and especially after the Florida performance, and kind of kick himself for, why didn't I do it like this the whole time? Why did I almost get too close to it and coach the way that I was? That it didn't seem like that's his coaching style at all. Saturday looked like the O that people wanted to hire. So do you think he's going to reflect back on this one day and be like, that was the way I should have done it?
That's a really, really good question. I think there's absolutely truth to that. I think that's kind of almost the decades-long story of Ogeron, I think, is there's just some volatility there. I think sometimes he can be a man of the moment, and I think there's moments where, you look back at 2018 and 19 where, he learned from lessons, changed some things, and there's sometimes you lose track of the things you learned, and then you get, like you said, get too close to it again. You're practicing too hard, you're making everyone tense, things like that. And again, these last 2 years have not been Ole Miss or anything like that. I don't want to imply that in any world. But yeah, I think I think he will absolutely, he said he's not coaching next year, maybe reevaluate again and learn a lot of lessons from this. But what makes it so tough is it's not like it's one thing, it's like, oh man, they messed up big time on some hires. There's some cultural things that he absolutely wishes he could redo. There's some ways he's coached he wishes he could redo. There's just a lot of stuff, and it is a sad story.
Do you think he coaches again?
Oh man, it's a good question. I wish I had a better answer for. I deep down do. I think Ed Ogeron is a just type A person who is not necessarily suited to. I just can't imagine Ed Ogeron just live in retirement. I mean, can you? So I think at the end of the day, I imagine him being a coach again. Maybe next year he's on TV somewhere, relaxing and enjoying himself. But I just personally think of 2023 or beyond, I don't know if that means he's somebody's top lieutenant again. I mean, he's really good at that, and I think he loves being at the top of college football, recruiting the biggest names. But also, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's a head coach again somewhere. But I definitely don't think his days are done now.
This is the popular question that everybody's asking you. I know in all of your hits, we've got to ask you here: who are your front runners? Who is your short list? Who do you expect to get some attention here?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I mean, Scott Woodward is going big game hunting right now.
Yeah.
And, I think Jimbo Fisher's the name that keeps coming up, and I do think Scott Woodward is interested in him, but I've been told that is not likely to happen. That is not particularly likely at all. And then, I think my colleague Bruce Feldman reported he's even going to make Dabo say no. And again, I don't think Dabo's coming to LSU, but I think he's going that big, I think is the point. But he has a deep list. There are the James Franklins, and I think the LSU versus USC thing is going to be really interesting there. There are the you even hear like, hey, Lincoln Riley would be really high on their list if they might want him. And then there's Mel Tucker. There's it is no secret. There are people at LSU that are very interested in Mel Tucker and are definitely pushing in that direction. And he's a guy who checks some boxes. He's winning at Michigan State. He is a lot of access to the Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, styles of success. And then you also have, then you go slightly further down the list, and Billy Napier makes a ton of sense. I know he's not the splash name, and I know he doesn't seem like a Woodward hire, but he does make a lot of sense. And obviously Lane Kiffin, you can't rule that one out either. So those are kind of the names you just keep hearing the most. And Mario Cristobal is worth mentioning too. But again, it's just so early, and Scott Woodward's so hard to kind of really have direct access to.
Panamsky called into the show while you were on and said he wants you and I to be at the LSU football ops at 2 o'clock. Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
I think that sounds really nice. I don't see anything that could go wrong.
Bring your pen and paper.
You get the bait. They'll bring everything else, they say. So I'll see you there, buddy. Make sure to notify and keep your notifications on your phone, or keep the GPS up on your phone so our relatives know where we are.
I wasn't ready for that.
Great work as always, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good one, man. Take care.
Later, buddy. There's Brody Miller checking in. Latest from The Athletic. And on the hit list of Panamsky and Ogeron as he joins the Jordy Culotta show right there up top. That conversation brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix. Remember, over our friends, speaking of concrete, Cajun Ready Mix.
The Italians.
Yeah, making us some concrete Reeboks.
What's that shoe?
Yeah, right.
That was.
That is. CajunRMC.com. Cajun Ready Mix provides ready mix concrete products and services to meet all of your concrete needs. That's residential, commercial, industrial, municipal. They have 9 certified plants around the greater Baton Rouge area. What does that mean for you? That means that Cajun Ready Mix guarantees that all the deliveries will be completed on time and to the exact specifications. Online, CajunRMC.com. High-quality products, grade A equipment, clear safety standards. All from our friends over at Cajun Ready Mix, CajunRMC.com. We'll reset, be right back with you here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73, or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Abears combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. GoFlow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to goflowiv.com. GoFlow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At GoFlow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com, or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Welcome back in here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day. Jam-packed here in the UDL. The carpool queen is here, rocking some snakeskin J's. Disco ball J's.
Disco ball for Crystal Ball.
No. She's got her play in. Big Mario girl. Jordan Peck is here. Noah is here. Mikie Mahtook is here. Lizzie is here. It's a jam-packed UDL here on this Tuesday morning. Remember, anything you've missed, like our conversation with Brody Miller, that was fantastic from The Athletic. All of that is brought back to you by R&B Builders. Frank Wilson shed good light on his McNeese State football team. Also, the pressures of being at the top of LSU football. He was the associate head coach for 5 years. Those 5 years were under Les Miles, so he was really the head coach of the team. So he really understands just kind of the pressures and the weight, the scope, the heat on that seat at LSU football. So it was really good perspective from a. So we've got a couple of names, and early on. Yesterday, we were talking to Ross Dellinger, and we were talking to we were talking to Bruce Feldman on Sunday night, and Feldman had who could be next. And he leads off with two of the top power players in college football. He says Jimbo Fisher first, and then he said here on Sunday night that Woodward was going to make Dabo Swinney tell him no. I think that it's majority belief in this room, majority opinion in this room, that Dabo Swinney is only going to play one place in college football, right? Yep. I think early on in his tenure, people anticipated him maybe to be the follow-up to Saban because he was an Alabama walk-on, and he was a guy, he spoke in the accent, he played the good old boy, he was all that stuff. But the further that he has stayed in Clemson, it looks like his act really only plays in that town, in that community, with that program. And I'm not discounting Dabo, the head football coach. I just don't think that he can have that type of success in other places, particularly at LSU. I think his act would get eaten up pretty quickly at LSU.
Yeah, if you don't want to join the cult, don't join the cult. And Dabo just turned Clemson into what seems like a very cultish type program over there.
The problem is not just you, not just me. A lot of people think it's an act.
Yeah,
like it's an act.
It is.
Yeah. Nobody wants it. Like, you don't want an act. You want the real deal.
You know what's the more of a turnoff to me about Dabo is that it's all about Dabo.
Yeah,
and but in a team environment, if one person makes it about themselves, that's such a turnoff.
Like when he sprints down the freaking
the camera on him the whole time.
LSU would never do the Dabo
all his just rah.
Whose idea do you think that was?
Right?
Can we get a camera on me? Yeah, Dabo, sure. And this guy's gonna have to run a 4.40 to keep up with you.
You know, he was the one that made the comment: if they start paying players, I'm done.
Right?
I'm walking away.
Yeah.
They started paying players, and he signed a multi-million-dollar, more lucrative $1 million deal. Yeah, exactly.
Transfer portal in the Heisman House. I didn't really. That didn't look good now.
Yeah. Why? And we need to find out why Burrow is not on the Heisman
Seriously,
House commercials.
why is that?
I don't know.
We need
to get Jimmy on and ask him.
I feel like it was his choice. Like, he's like, I don't have time for that. I just want to play.
If so, I'm all in. Yeah. But if they screwed him, we're going in on this Heisman House place, bro. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? How many times do I have to watch Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray make jokes on one another? Like, can we get Joey B in the house, for God's sakes?
Baker Mayfield is an incredible actor. Like, every commercial he's in, he's a better actor than quarterback
when he's watering the plants outside of Cleveland Stadium, and they're talking about the lady, and then she drives by.
Yeah, they're talking they're gossiping. It's like, dude, this is very believable.
It is, and he's got the robe on. Yeah. He is very believable. But I need Joey in the Heisman House.
Unless he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. Maybe he's out back running through other women.
It's cooler not to be there. You get more it's cooler for him not to be in the Heisman House because everyone's like, "Where's Burrow?"
Can I just see a little touch of purple and gold in there, though?
See, he's only done one commercial. He did the Nerf commercial right out of college. Remember? Where he signed with a Nerf deal and they played Nerf. Yeah. So that was very early on. That he's done nothing since. Yeah. So I guess he was.
Here it is. It's the Nissan Heisman House. And Joey signed on with that electric car company right out of college.
Is that it?
That's what people are saying, that he signed on with an electric car company. If Nissan wants to play that petty bro, that's probably his sponsor telling him, I don't know. We don't want the crossover with you and Nissan.
He pulls in, knocks everything over in his electric car, and he stumbles out. That would be the excellent way to bring him in.
Right. All right, so I get it.
All right.
Get your money, Joey.
Case closed.
Get your money. But back to Dabo. Are we all? I mean, we're all nay, huh?
Nay.
I mean, we're all
Nay.
nay on
Nay,
Dabo,
nay.
right? I mean, like it's just doesn't.
Nay
it
on
doesn't fit.
Dabo. Nay on Cristobal.
Nay on Cristobal.
Yeah,
I'm nay on Cristobal too. I see Jacques Doucette, our good friend, is inside of the bunker. Shout out to JD, who is doing great work and covering all of the story. And he was asked by one of our listeners inside of the bunker on who he thought was going to be next, and he said Cristobal. I mean, there is a section of people out there. Who was the first that said Cristobal to it? It was J-Boy.
And that's when I was like, absolutely
I
not,
just don't
because
like-
it's
I
the
don't
same
like
thing
that.
LSU has right now.
I think he's Ogeron.
Yes.
He doesn't have a specialty, right? Like
Exactly.
he doesn't have an offensive, defensive
Offensive line
mind.
coach.
He's a rah-rah guy. He's always kind of rah-rah, and which, there's room for. But, I mean, you have to have some specialty.
You can't fall down
with
that
you.
trap again.
And what has Oregon done?
That's a good
Since
question.
They're in the Pac-12. What have they done?
Would they beat? They beat Ohio State
beat
in
Ohio
the
State.
horseshoe.
They
That's the
probably
biggest thing that he's done.
And
Yeah, and then they lost.
And they lost. Like what? Like that's not. I don't want that.
So I'm with you. I think Cristobal doesn't make a lot of sense. Dabo makes zero sense. Jimbo is the name that keeps coming up that makes me think that he is the smokescreen. That is Woodward
I agree
kind of
with that.
putting that out, because Woodward he's got some type of vine to the public where he is able to dupe you. Like he's able to make you look over here and you're like, oh shit, he's gonna hire Jay Johnson. You know what I mean? Like he's not going after Tony Vitello. Like I mean, like
Casey?
I could have sworn Vitello was like Casey was his guy.
Yeah.
Like Casey was the
Bianco.
guy that he kind of put out there and said,
Bianco-
y'all all talk about Casey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be back
I'm
here
working here.
behind the scenes, and I'm gonna be getting my guy. And I think Jimbo kind of feels like that. Even though he was squirming in that scene. Well, it's only October. I do love it here. I got a couple of ranches. I hunt here. I fish here. I love it here. Everybody embraces me here. They love my.
Sounded like he was trying to convince himself.
Yo. So yes or no? You know what I mean?
It's only October. It's only
like, what's
October.
the-
And I
yes
love
or
Baton
no?
Rouge. Love those people over there. Love Baton
Yeah,
Rouge.
we won national championships there. It was a beautiful play. Like, yes or no?
No, listen, I like Jimbo a lot. I do. I think he's a great. I don't know if
Right
I don't know
now,
if
it doesn't make
I don't know if
sense.
that's what we want right now.
I think when 2015 came and they had the chance, and behind closed doors, that was a done deal. That thing was done. They were putting together coaching staffs, and Bobby Jindal called F. King Alexander and Joe Oliva after that Texas A&M game, after Shaquille O'Neal got on the air during the television and said, don't run Les Miles. They carry him off the field. They do the rah-rah stuff in the locker room. The Jimbo deal falls. If you didn't get him that day, since then, it sailed.
Yep.
Really, because the second time around in 2017, he just used you for leverage.
Yeah.
That's all he did. Like, he was like, I am never working for Joe Oliva. That guy's a moron. I mean, like, he made me look like an asshole 2 years ago. You know what I mean? While I'm telling everybody behind the scenes, like, no. But yes.
Right.
He screwed it up and made, put the egg on my face. We're going to take him to the cleaners the next time around. And that's what they did.
Wasn't Woodward the AD too?
Yes.
And he was like,
of
oh, we
course
can
he
get him.
was.
And he'll go take his job in 5 years.
Absolutely. I mean, it was like, look, man, you just run through Baton Rouge, get that money right, and we'll make sure that you get the number you need.
Was it you that made the point that Woodward obviously hired Jimbo at A&M? If Jimbo has success at A&M and then Woodward hires a guy here that has super success, and A&M and LSU are the top powers.
Oh, God.
Like,
I mean,
his legacy's set.
I mean, just
greatest
swinging it.
AD ever. Yeah. So,
Walk into the locker room naked. You know what I mean? Towel around the shoulders. How's everybody doing today?
I'm welcome to College Station. I'm welcome to Baton Rouge. They still like me in Washington.
Exactly.
But don't you think if he were to get a Jimbo Fisher, that it cuts the legs out from A&M? It's a fell swoop of hurting a rival that seems to be almost
How
replacing
much
you
does
in the
A&M?
SEC
How much
West.
does A&M concern you if LSU's right? Even if they're right, if LSU is right,
They don't concern
me. At all.
Listen,
They don't concern.
listen,
If LSU's
if
got the right guy, and even if they've got Jimbo, LSU's better.
But even if we have the wrong guy, we beat them.
Yeah.
They can't. They had Johnny Manziel and they couldn't beat us.
Yeah.
And I'll ask this question also: if Jimbo would have been hired in 2015, do you think he would still be here?
Probably not with Joe Oliva for those many amount of years. He still had 3 years with Oliva. 3 years with Oliva could be a lifetime with a smart person like Jimbo Fisher. I mean, there's a lot of smart people that worked around
That's why
Oliva
Jimbo left the
that
first
were
time.
like, Jesus Christ.
How are y'all doing that
I mean,
here?
this guy, he's got 2 left feet. This guy, he's So I'd imagine that would have probably turned him off to a point where he was like, you know what? I mean, if Scott Woodward's at Texas A&M and he's calling me, offering me a 10-year guaranteed $100 million, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm out. But I mean, I can't say that definitively. But it would have been very difficult for Oliva and Fisher to coexist, just because Jimbo would have been like, this. We can't
Clown.
win. We can't win with this guy. We can't win with an athletic director with his least amount of vision. He's very. He's
On
very
the 14th hole.
Yeah, he's bad.
And that was part of. I mean, half the reason why he left the first time, not because of Oliva, but because of Les. He didn't like Les at all.
Yeah.
He couldn't work with Les. Now,
Absolutely.
obviously, he got the head coach and waiting job in Florida State, and like that's. But before that, he didn't like Les.
He was looking for an out.
2005 at Auburn was Jimbo Fisher's "I'm done with this place" when
Right.
they have Jamarcus, Dwayne Bowe, Craig Davis, Early Doucette, and they get beat 7-6.
Yeah.
Because Miles handcuffs him for 3.5 quarters, finally tells him throw the ball, and they get knocked out of bounds at the 2-yard line on the last play of the game when Jamarcus just marching them down the field. At that point, people say around Jimbo that he got back to Baton Rouge and said, I don't care what job I get. If I got to go be a head coach in waiting somewhere and just sit behind even Bobby Bowden, I'll do it. Just get me the hell out of here.
And think of a legacy you have to replace for like Jimbo Fisher. That's not an ideal first head coaching stop. Like
It worked out
It's
for
hard.
him,
Oh,
yeah.
it did. But I mean, he was so ready to leave that he
Yes.
would go replace Bobby.
Whatever
Bowden
I
at
got to
Florida
do,
State.
I'll sit on the sidelines for 3 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hat and sunglasses.
It doesn't matter. Terrell Guidry says Matt Campbell will be the next head coach. He's at Iowa State. Campbell turned down the New York Jets job in the offseason, which makes me believe that he does have at least NFL interest. I don't think that you take an interview with an NFL club if you don't have interest in going to the NFL. Now, whether he used that for leverage to get more money in Ames, maybe so. But if Matt Campbell is as good as he said, as good as we believe him to be, and there's the college football community has tabbed Matt Campbell as the next up and coming guy, his future is not going to be at Iowa State. Right? I mean, he's not going to make that legacy in Ames, Iowa as a college football coach. So does he get an interview here? It makes a little sense. What I don't want the LSU job to be next or for the next guy is not necessarily a stepping stone, but at least a place where you've got more aspiration, where this isn't the end game for you, where this is not, doesn't necessarily even have to be the biggest job of your life, but for where you are in your professional career, you're not looking elsewhere.
Well, you don't want someone that has aspirations to coach in the NFL. Like, you want them to be a college guy, right? Because LSU, that's the top of the thing. You're not going anywhere else in college football, but LSU if you're the head coach. But if you want to coach in the NFL, I mean, I don't want to get burned again by another Nick Saban.
No,
situation.
you don't want to do 4 years, win national
Right.
championship, and at the end of 4, he says, you know what, I want to go. Or at the end of 5 years, he says, look, it's been great. I want to go try this. And then like the first 6 months he's in the NFL, he's blowing Skip Bertman up, saying, I want my job back. I mean, you don't want that to happen for the next guy.
Now, what about Aranda? I know.
I'm kind of starting to move on Aranda. I'm kind of starting to buy into Aranda a little bit more than he's doing a really good job.
Yes.
Like his football team is
He's
really
super
good.
smart. Like he's going to be
All you
buttoned
got to
up.
do is solve the OC.
The thing I love about,
that's
which I
okay.
think he would,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he's smart enough to understand
I want-
that I can't do that.
I want a head coach that has a specialty in one side of the ball.
Capacity,
One
I
side
agree.
of the ball.
I agree. A master of it.
Yes.
And that's where you're kind of out on Matt Campbell.
Here's where you always here's where you get a specialty in Dave Aranda that nobody talks about, but people have talked about since he has left just immensely is, and I know it's going to surprise a lot of people that may not anticipate this, is his communication skills. His ability to communicate with his players is something that those guys miss. Like, if you asked Jacoby Stevens and that crew, what was the biggest turnoff last year defensively? It was the lack of respect that the coach had in speaking to the players. The simple communication to veteran players, experienced players, that just turned people off. And coming from a style of Dave Aranda, who speaks with respect first, but he also speaks and communicates with an educated mind that comes from how to communicate.
Yep.
That's his background. That's what his studies were in college, was communication, and the way that he gets things out of people. And people, that may surprise because he comes off very quiet. He comes off very reserved. He comes off very calculated. But in the way that he is able to build relationships with his leaders, his players, gain the trust of them, and then ultimately they like him.
Right.
Like they personally, they like playing for him, and they respect the way that he respects them. And it looks like Baylor's team really respects their head coach and their program. If you watch them play, they're very disciplined. They don't stupid penalties. They're not doing anything that looks very unorganized, or nobody's looking at the sideline with the hands in the air. They're not telling the plays to come in, on the play clock. I mean, they look very tight. Yep. They look very organized. And I think to be able to appear like that in just, is this Aranda's second year? This is Aranda's second year. For in his a year and a half. That's good coaching.
Great coaching.
You know what I mean? Like,
and
that's
what you want as a head coach. You want that coach to be calculated. Never want him to be like the guy in the media. I mean, we've had 2 cartoon characters over the last 2 head coaches.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, Les Miles.
You're 2 memes.
Yeah,
you got
exactly.
2 memes.
And so it's like, and not saying I don't like personally, I do like Coach O, but as a head coach, like, you want your guy to be calculated. You want your guy to be, even if he's
detailed.
Yes, and that's what Aranda is. And I mean, I don't know if there was a defensive or any coach for that matter outside of Nick Saban when Aranda was here that made better halftime adjustments than Dave Aranda. I mean, we could give up 25 points in the first half, and they were going to get shut out in the second half because of the adjustments. And now it's flipped, and like, I don't know. To me, that's what you want. You want a coach that can say, okay, this is what our game plan was. Okay, maybe they beat us in the first half. Okay, we're going to flip it. We're going to come back out, and we're going to make the adjustment and win. And that's what he did. And because he was so calculated and so smart and understood what was going on.
You know exactly what you're getting with Dave Aranda. And
Absolutely.
That's what it seems like LSU, just because of all the off-the-field things that have happened. You mentioned the last 2 head coaches. It seems like there's a sense of, let's get somebody that can right the ship, like just a stable. And if you can have Dave Aranda, who knows the landscape, has been in Baton Rouge before, obviously, I could see that as an avenue. But you talked about, the head coaches being a meme, and that's where Lane Kiffin falls off the boat, right?
I think Lane lost it last Saturday night,
and it's not his fault,
and it wasn't his fault.
It's
just that's him.
It made you realize, like, man, okay, so this.
It's a circus.
I actually had this conversation with my uncle. Actually, he was telling me, he was like, listen to how full circle life and football comes. So, you had Lane Kiffin was the head coach at
Tennessee.
USC, right?
Yeah, I mean, pick one.
He leaves.
He's been around.
Orgeron became his interim head coach. He leaves. Orgeron was the head coach at Ole Miss. Now Kiffin is the head coach at Ole Miss. Ed Orgeron's the head coach at LSU. He leaves.
It's amazing.
If Lane Kiffin comes, so you have 2 coaches that were the head coaches at 3 major universities. Like, that never happens. Like,
that are really good friends.
Think about that.
That all kind of wanted to work together. Like, they were chasing each other kind of around a little bit.
It just comes full circle, and like, you just can't. It just doesn't. It's not his fault, but you just can't do it. You can't.
Do you think that there's?
I would love.
Me too.
But
I'm still on board with it.
Yeah.
But I understand why you can't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if they did it, I'd still be fired up.
Oh, for sure.
But they're not going to do it, and I understand why.
It was sick when he caught the water bottle, though.
It was sick.
So sick.
It was sick.
He's got some swag.
He's got so much swag. I mean, bro, that thing is coming at you.
And just nonchalantly
just
catches it.
Whip.
Honestly, I wish he'd have caught it and drank it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was
pissed. Oh, if it was pissed so much. Yeah.
Still drinking.
Even if, drink anyway.
But through the visor.
Just went straight out.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of, are you not entertained?
He goes to the post-game interview and he goes, I have the golf ball. He's like keeping it in his pocket.
A hell of a toss on the golf ball.
Yeah.
The golf ball lands. I mean,
that's a great throw. Who brings a golf ball to a football game?
Tennessee fans. Yeah, Tennessee fans.
Jesus.
You don't think that he could maybe save some of his status within LSU if he acts right? I guess LSU
won't give him the opportunity to do that.
I'm talking about next week. Just when they
No,
play each other.
no,
when they
it's
play
gone.
each other
No,
Saturday.
no, it's done.
One
You've seen
week's
enough.
not gonna, one
You've
week's
seen
not
enough.
gonna fix years.
No. Yeah, you've
He's
seen enough.
publicly lobbying for the job.
He is. Behind the scenes, he wants it.
He wants it.
He's telling Jimmy Sexton to get him that job, and I think Jimmy's saying, Lane, just last Saturday in Knoxville, that just you
ruined
went
it.
you. You know what I mean? Like
It was a party.
If there was ever a worse time for you to go back to Knoxville, if there
Yeah.
was ever a just on the schedule that couldn't have come at a worse enough time for you if you wanted the LSU job, just because you didn't do it,
Yep.
you went in there, you won the game, and your personality brought the worst out of the opposing fans, and LSU doesn't want to deal with that.
I wish they'd
this
have
time.
blown him out. I wish they'd have
Yeah.
blown him out and they didn't have a controversial call at the end of the game because that wouldn't have happened, obviously. But I don't think he's.
Yeah,
I don't think he
and
can
I'm with
come.
you. And Mel Tucker's name continues to be one that is gaining a ton of steam. And at first, I thought that Tucker was kind of the Jimbo Fisher special that we
Right.
talked about from Woodward. Kind of look over here, get it done. But Tucker's name, I mean, look, Vegas is paying attention to this. There are odds stacked
Flipped
on
it.
who's going to be the next head coach. And Mel Tucker is, I mean, he's as good odds as you can find. Do you have those? Can you pull those up, Lloyd, and see where we are on Tucker? And
And
look,
what were they originally on him? And
It was
over
12-1 at first. It was 12-1 odds on Tucker at first.
and he's what, like even money now?
I think
He
it's
is
what,
now-
plus 200.
Yeah, so it moved. Mel Tucker is plus 200. Lane Kiffin is plus 500. And so it switched. At first, Lane Kiffin was favored at plus 250.
Yeah.
So I'm about to pull it up on the screen.
So you know what I mean? Like
I mean, he's a Saban guy.
he's
you
a
know?
Saban guy. Saban's hired him 3 times.
Yeah, that I like that. You know, like, hey, he left and Saban brought him back multiple times because obviously Saban likes him and he thinks he's beneficial to his staff, and if he's beneficial to Saban's staff, he's pretty good.
Limited time as a head coach. 1 year on the Colorado job. He spent a year last year at Michigan State, and here he is in his second season in East Lansing, directing that Spartan program. And he does some really good things. If you watch their team play, he does some really good things, and you can see the Saban wake
Right.
of his coaching style and teams in it. Now his record is very underwhelming.
But so was Saban's when he left Michigan State.
It was, and over the next month, he's got a bye this week. Noah, he's got a bye this week,
yeah.
and then he goes Michigan, Purdue,
Maryland,
Maryland,
and then it's Ohio State, Penn State.
and then
yeah.
and then he plays Ohio State, Penn State. So over the next month and a half,
We're gonna know.
you will have every question answered about Mel Tucker that if you haven't had them answered already, you'll have in spades.
Yeah.
So I think that Mel Tucker, if he wants the job and his name is a serious consideration for LSU, well, then over the next month, he's got to perform.
Yep.
And I don't think that LSU can make a play at him if he doesn't.
Now,
Like right now, as it sits, I don't think that Mel Tucker is qualified enough to sell to the public.
agree.
He's probably qualified enough as far as a football coach goes, but from a public sales standpoint, from Woodward to his consumers, to the fan base, he hasn't. He doesn't have that one moment.
Right.
He doesn't have that one moment where you're like, okay, he's the guy. Like
one
that's
shining moment.
that's
But
the deal.
Now I will say there's a couple on the Mel Tucker point. The way he left Colorado
Yes.
was not good.
Right.
right.
And there's been a little bit of some stuff going on behind the scenes that early in his coaching
Yeah.
career that, like, okay, there's a little baggage. I'm not, like, everybody makes mistakes. Stuff happens and you get past it and you grow up. But, like, if we're looking for, like, the
safe.
squeaky clean, nothing going on, like, you know, he's not dirty, but,
No.
like, there were some
He's
things
not
that
Napier.
happened.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
the safest
Napier
name.
Napier
Or- yeah,
is
right, or
Napier
Aranda.
Napier and Aranda
Yeah.
to me are the safest public relations and off the field plays that you can make. I think all of this will have a gamble on the football field. All of these hires have some sense of a risk in bringing them aboard. Some, not as much as others, but there is all a risk on the field. The greater risk that I think they're balancing is the off the field stuff.
Right.
And when you have two players or you've got two guys like Dave Aranda and Billy Napier where you can dig all day. You know what I
Yep.
mean? We can play this game. Well, you can
Right.
go hire PIs. You can
Right.
do whatever you want to do. They're clean.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they're squeaky clean. They don't have stuff on. They're not worried about anything else but football.
Yep.
But as you go down the list, you'll have to manage against that. And I think even, Mel, while you're kind of you're nitpicking, but it's still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still kind of sitting right there. I mean, remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Urban Meyer in this position. Like, you can't do that. I mean, we're talking about Lane Kiffin because he had a golf ball thrown at his head that he get from a PR standpoint. You can't do that. I mean, Urban Meyer was shoving his knuckles up some. I mean, like,
that's where the golf ball came from.
Just like in his own bar 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Now, I will say this.
And then he gets a win.
Yeah, he did get a win.
Yeah.
He
had to go to
London.
He probably had a couple of pints at UO London.
Yeah. But, okay,
so kicker had never made a 50-yard field goal in his life.
He made two in the final 4 minutes.
Is that unbelievable?
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
So-
Urban's just, can you please save my job? Please go
Herb.
in.
Over the last few years, right? 3, 4, however many years, all of these sexy coaches that are in the media and like these are the guys everybody wants haven't really
flamed out.
panned out.
They have flamed out.
Like, so I kind of like that. We're not going for like the hot name that just happened once or 1 year, 2 years. Like, no, I mean, like, all these guys that everybody thought were going to be the next young up and coming coaches, like they haven't really done it.
Well, and there's also not there's no Steve Sarkisian this year. There's nobody that you say, well, yeah, I mean, like whoever is job is open is going to get Sark.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's kind of how Sarkisian was looked at last year because his time in Alabama was time for him to move on, and he was the best assistant coach in the country. He was the best play caller in the country. He had the best talent in the country. So everybody was paying attention to him. He was going to get a big job. You look up 3 months later, he's the Texas coach. Yep. There's nobody in college football right now that's on somebody's staff that is calling plays or an assistant or associate head coach like Frank Wilson was, who we were talking to last hour at LSU during his time here. There's nobody out there that you say, I gotta have him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you gotta go get that guy and make yourself relevant. So I don't know if that's scary or I don't know if that's
when people talk about Bill O'Brien that way, but
no way.
That's the closest thing to it, though.
Look, if Bill O'Brien didn't have the way he ended with the Texans, like maybe, but I just don't. I don't believe it.
I would take Pete Golding before I took Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
He's the defensive coordinator from Hammond,
right,
at Alabama, and I'm not pushing for Golding at all. I'm just saying, if you're telling me that I can have anybody off of Alabama's staff as the next head coach outside of Saban, you know what I mean? It's not going to be Bill O'Brien. It's just not going to be him.
Yeah,
it's just in the exact same mold as Sarkisian. He's had probably the most dominant. The most dominant team of the last few years. He's there as the play caller. He's in the booth. You see him. He's very visible. And it's not like their offense is bad. And he's coached. You forget what he did at Penn State. He was the one that had to go.
No doubt.
Go
he had to clean up that mess.
Are you pro Bill O'Brien?
No, I'm just making the case for him. There's an argument to be made that he was a good college football head coach.
Right.
I'm with you on what happened with the Texans. That was a disaster.
Well, it's too bad to look away from.
Right. We're talking about culture. That's not good.
Yeah, and a lot that came out of that was that he kind of was tanking to lose the job.
Yeah.
He wanted to go back to New England. So he was selling off picks.
I mean, I read an incredible story on O'Brien where he had caught in wind that Tom Brady had said behind the scene, like they had asked Brady in like one of his interviews of who is the most influential assistant coach that you've played for. And he said publicly, like, Bill O'Brien was his guy. He loved Bill O'Brien. And this is while Josh McDaniels is his coach.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, McDaniels and him almost seemed like brothers on the sidelines. And that, like, tipped off Bill O'Brien to think that he was going to be
the coach
in waiting for the New England Patriots and get the Patriots gig, which in return, like, forced him to, like, start tanking. In Houston.
Well, that's not good.
It's right. Like and that's kind of ultimately what happened. And then he looked up and he wasn't going to get the job, and they had traded DeAndre Hopkins, and the whole thing was about to fall in on his head. And the culture had just imploded. I mean, it was a pretty. When you think about these figures, when you think about these coaches that the fan base entrusts, the organization entrusts to run, and you've got somebody at the top with a mentality like that, that is so dangerous on what that can do to you. I mean, think how far back now the Texans are set back. Now, he didn't do the Deshaun Watson stuff. I mean, but think about where the Texans are in serious conversation of NFL football. I mean, they feel like they're going to have the number one pick in the draft for the next 5 years.
Right. Right.
And they don't even have it. The coach that they have now has no business. He's just doing damage control.
Who
He's
is-
just
I don't even know who the
his
coach is.
name.
Who is
I
the
don't know.
coach?
I don't know. They got him off to Baltimore, and he was like 67 years old. He was a defensive line coach from the Ravens, like something Cullen. Maybe David Cullen.
Yeah.
Is it David Cullen? I think.
He was the Ravens wide receiver coach.
I mean, like
That's
which was
crazy.
the worst group in the NFL.
Yeah, right. Now, Keith Doman brings up a name, and if there's one name that I think that Scott Woodward can be doing the Jay Johnson effect with us
I
on,
agree.
it might be Lincoln Riley. It could be Lincoln. Lincoln
think?
Riley's name keeps coming up, and it
Quarterback
keeps
whisperer.
fading away, but it keeps coming back up, and then it kind of fades away. And I don't know if this is Lincoln Riley's people putting his name in the mix to get him more money at Oklahoma, or if this is Lincoln Riley's people putting it in the mix to say, hey, man, you've swung and you have competed at Oklahoma long enough, and you have shown that you've got great offense, but you ain't never going to win here. You're not going to get over the real hump here at Oklahoma. If you want to take that next step, you should probably go coach the team that beat you by 50 in the playoff 2 years ago.
Especially if you want to be in the SEC soon.
Look, I get that.
Doesn't he feel a little like Jay Johnson?
A little bit, but football is different. In this, like, man, he's got an absolute stud as a freshman.
Exactly.
Caleb Matthews,
Yeah.
he
Caleb
definitely
Williams.
Caleb Williams would definitely make me think.
So I'm
Bring
like,
him with you.
Look,
Jay Johnson,
but-
bro, Jacob
True,
Berry.
both times.
True, but I mean, if Caleb Williams doesn't come on the scene this year and
It's a different
they don't really
situation.
know, I think I'm more
possibly.
on that, right?
Yeah.
Because like Spencer Rattler may have driven him crazy enough to like, I got to get out of this area.
Yeah.
But with Caleb Williams, and now that I'm not the only klutz.
It's the Lebanese people. What's wrong with you?
That's okay. If that never would have happened, I think that that'd be more likely. I just don't see him. Quarterbacks, especially him, he loves to have his guy, and he's gonna be.
And he's got him.
This is the first guy he's gonna be able to groom without
He's got him.
transferring in.
Yeah, that's right.
For
That's
3
right.
years.
I wonder what he thinks about Walker. You know what I mean? I wonder if he.
Sure he loves him.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does.
Well, LSU was what Caleb Williams' top.
It was, but
top
that was Joe
three.
Brady.
Yeah, I
that
know.
was Joe Brady. Who is the Lincoln? Who is the Jay Johnson though? Like that's what I'm. It's
Yeah.
not Jimbo. It's not Mel
Too
Tucker.
obvious.
It's not these guys that they're throwing in your face.
There may not be.
It's this guy that's kind of behind the
side.
scenes and just not being talked about.
Might be
And
an
I
NFL
wonder
guy.
if Woodward because to me
Maybe
Woodward
it's Aranda. Nobody's talking about.
maybe it
Aranda.
is Aranda.
Nobody's talking
maybe
about
it is
him.
Aranda. Maybe it is
Maybe.
Aranda.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the other coaches because, like, I mean, Jay Johnson, like you said, wasn't really on the radar. You know, he came from the West Coast. If you'd have said 6 years ago, LSU baseball is going to hire a West Coast
Right,
guy,
absolutely.
but he didn't really have the West Coast type of mentality as a coach.
Right.
Like, you look at West Coast, it's small ball. We're going to pitch. We're going to do. No, Jay Johnson's opposite. We're going to bang. We're going to out hit you,
Smash.
and we're going to have some guys that can throw, but we're going to out hit you. Like, that's the SEC style-ish kind of, and you know, so he was an outlier kind of on the West Coast. So I don't know if there's that guy yet, and that I see in college football. But to me, like you said, the more I think about it, the more I think Aranda makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Get over to City Cafe for lunch today. Remember, they open up their doors at 11 o'clock. They've got brunch every Sunday at 10 a.m., so stop in and see them over at City Cafe. That's O'Neill and George O'Neill, been in business for over 100 years, got great lunch day specials, and as we've been reminding you, they are hiring for all positions inside of the restaurant. Front office, hostess, wait staff, bartenders, managerial positions, all open for work. Kitchen detail is all open for work over at City Cafe. City Cafe, where good friends meet on the corner of O'Neill and George O'Neill. Stop in and see them for lunch today as they've got great lunch specials. We appreciate
tailgate specials.
we appreciate everybody for being here this morning. Before we get out of here at 9 a.m., if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on JordyCulottaShow.com, please make sure and hit that like, share, comment button. That helps us out a ton in trying to get in front of new eyeballs. Mikie was here today. He'll be back with us tomorrow. We'll be carrying on this conversation of LSU and obviously Ole Miss in preparation. No meeting with the press today for head coaches. Obviously, they'll be there tomorrow with the radio show and the SEC teleconference.
I'm also gonna, for your baseball fans, I'll sneak in
Yes.
some baseball talk tomorrow.
No. I was getting to that right now.
I thought we were wrapping this thing up.
We
That's
are
fine.
we are wrapping up the football talk, but I want to move on to
Did you see the Jay Johnson video from the scrimmage?
Yeah, dude, told y'all he is a stud.
He is a stud.
He's a stud.
I love that y'all love him.
Yes.
Really, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Because can you speak to, I don't know if the inside, this might be inside too much of the fraternity, but the skip class, the skip people and the Maneri people. I know that y'all don't have. I see your smirk, but it seems like all of y'all like this guy.
Yeah, we all like him.
You know what I mean?
We do. I mean, I think what he did that endeared himself to both eras was that he made it about the old. Like he welcomed everybody.
He invoked the name of Skip Bertman.
He welcomed all the players. He was at the reunion. Like he just welcomed everybody there, and and I think he was like, y'all built this. I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna keep growing it. And I think that helps a lot. And I think. I think for me that was the biggest thing that's endeared him to both eras.
Yeah,
he understood what he's walking
you can
into.
feel that. Like it doesn't matter if you talk to like even the oldest guard of skip guys.
Right.
I mean, like Doug Thompson and them like this guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right. And that's gonna happen. I mean, like the old guard, the old era, they built LSU baseball.
Sure.
LSU baseball was nothing. Skip came in there. Skip, I mean, he's the best, right? And like he won
Bear
5.
Bryant. Bear Bryant of baseball.
I mean, he changed baseball. I mean, what baseball is now is because of him. If you think about it, he won 5 national championships in 10 years, and
can anybody ever do that again?
No. Too much parity.
Yeah.
Too much parity.
Too much
in
attention
baseball.
on the sport now.
Too
right?
much parity in baseball. I mean, dude, and now people realize that like there's a lot of really good baseball players out there that get overlooked, and they're not getting as overlooked anymore. And I just don't think someone's gonna go. I mean, Vanderbilt has been close, but they're not winning every national championship. You know, like not only did LSU win 5 out of 10, they were in the World Series like 7 or 8 out of the 10 years,
and probably lost with some of their better teams. Like
in 1998, they should have gone 3.
Absolutely.
The wind changed.
The wind
flipped.
Yeah.
The weather flipped, and it was gorilla ball.
Yeah.
All they did was hit homers.
They hit 13 home runs, and then they couldn't.
They couldn't. The ball
against
wouldn't
USC.
go out.
The ball wouldn't go out.
Yep, Mark Pryor.
That's right. And Doug came off they bunted, and he came off the mound,
Yep.
and he.
I was there.
Me too.
I was 8 years old. I was there.
Me too. I was there too.
stands.
That team. That was probably their. That was
Yeah,
probably
they're
their.
nasty.
They were loaded. I hate to say their best, but that was one of Skip's better teams.
Yep. They were nasty. And then
92.
Yep.
Todd Walker, Rush Johnson, and that
Yep.
crew going back in between 91 and 93. I mean, that was a fantastic team.
I mean, and he almost had 2 3-peats. It's like nobody's gonna do that again. But he built that. He built that culture, and then you had a little lull in the early 2000s with Smoke, and then Maneri came in there and he kind of rejuvenated it, and then there was a little now. Jay Johnson's
here comes
come
the
in.
life.
Yep. Right.
Okay. Major League Baseball. This is the best time of the year for Major League
Best
Baseball.
time.
Championship series are happening on both sides. Atlanta and LA. The Dodgers are up 2-0 in that series. That Sunday night game was a classic.
Dude, I can't speak enough on how surprising it is that both teams are like the teams that are winning the series. How surprising it is. Like honestly, the Dodgers have basically the best record in baseball. I know the Giants did, but the Dodgers were right behind them with one loss less than them, or 1 win less than them. They're the wild card, so they don't get home field. Even though their record dictates that they probably should have, they don't get it. So they have to go to Atlanta. So they go to Atlanta for the first 2 games. Atlanta gets 2 walk-offs. Now they go to LA for 3, but then they finish in Atlanta for the last 2. And like momentum in the postseason is a huge deal. Home crowd,
What's
home
that
field
travel
advantage.
like, bro? That's cross country
Yeah,
travel,
that's tough.
huh?
That's tough. It's hard. You're gonna get a day off. You're gonna travel. You have the day off, and you'll be fine. But like, I mean, the home field in baseball, you're the last team to hit. It's like that's a huge home field advantage. So like, the Braves 2 walk-off. They're 2-0 with 2 walk-off wins. And then, the more the season goes on, I mean, I just think the Red Sox are kind of a team of fate a little bit right now. Like, reminds me a little bit of their teams that like weren't supposed to do anything and then won like 03 and then the last
Bronson Arroyo.
Yeah, like what's the last team? Was it 15?
They won in 15 and 18.
Yeah, so like the 15, like they weren't supposed to be there. They were there. They weren't supposed to be here. They're here and they're winning. and they're banging, dude. Like, I mean, they've hit 3 grand slams and
Did they win 12-2 last night? I mean,
12-3.
Yeah, 12-3.
Well, and the Red Sox, like, they know this feeling. Like, not only like this.
Well, they
the
have
clubhouse,
guys. They have guys that have won it,
right? And
you know?
they know that, like, oh, something's churning at Fenway. Like even the fans are like, oh, there's momentum here. Like, I've felt this feeling before, so it feels like the Red Sox are, and it's extremely scary.
They did a really good job in the trade. They got Schwarber, who's won a World Series with Chicago, and a talent that eats, sleeps, breathes baseball. They won a championship. He brought one there. You have your Bogarts as their shortstop. He won one. He's won two in Boston. No, you said they won in 15 and 18. So he won 2 in Boston. And you just have these guys, and you have Sale, who came back off the DL, and like, they're like, well, they didn't go get starting pitching help. Well, sometimes the guys coming off the DL are better than the guys you can go trade for, and so it's they got a lot of pieces there, and I think that it's just kind of one of those things that they're hot and they're riding that wave, and I think they'll be in the World Series.
Boston and Atlanta, you like it?
I don't want to say Atlanta yet. I don't know. I mean, dude, you look at the
good.
Dodgers lineup, man. It's like that MVP, who's not even playing great this year.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man. I think that they're so good that they may end up. I think both games are gonna go to Game 7 though.
It's got to be pretty sweet for Jock Peterson.
Oh, dude, Jock is wearing the pearls, dude. The real pearls,
dude,
like with the dyed hair. Jock's got
He's got that Griffey swing, bro.
Dude, and he doesn't care. Like, how about the interview? They're asking him a question after the game, and they're like,
I love that.
Jock.
they're like, hey, what are you? They're asking him about the homer, and he goes, well, I mean, I think I'm a pretty good baseball player. I feel like I'm a pretty good player. Like, no, it doesn't surprise me. Like, I hit homers. That's what I do. Like
he's doing it with Rizzo's bat.
Yeah, like, dude, he's awesome. Funny, quick story about him. Double-A were playing against each other, and they had a fly ball to center field, and he was playing center, and he's a lefty.
Yeah.
And this dude is running for the fly ball, and he's rolling his arm like this, stretching it to try to throw the guy out, and then clinks it. And I'm like, oh my God. He just like, I'm talking about he's running after it. And he's like, I'm getting loose. I'm about to throw you out. And then clanks the ball. And I'm like, oh my God, that happened. That really just happened.
That's some little league shit right there.
That's so
You
funny.
see that in traction, like with the kid with the big personality in the field.
Yeah.
Just
He laughed at. I mean, he's awesome, dude.
That's great, dude.
Yeah, he's
that is
great.
good. So games tonight, right? We got are both tonight?
No, I think you got one tonight.
Okay, one tonight. Yeah.
You got the
Houston Boston
because the Braves are traveling. They're traveling across country.
Remember daily here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good stuff. As we appreciate look, that's the insight that we get with Mahtook here on baseball, and we know that you love it. In fact, I was out the other day and somebody told me that they love hearing Mahtook talking postseason baseball. It was a good addition to the show. Remember, over at Relief Med, RELEAF med.com. Medical marijuana is legal in the state of Louisiana. Qualifying conditions range from anxiety to back pain. You got to go over to reliefmed.com. Go to reliefmed.com, answer some questions, schedule your phone or your video call with your doctor's appointment. The doc will call you. You talk about 5-10 minutes, and if you qualify, the doctor sends you your recommendation to the pharmacy that's closest to you. That's it. That's the process. It's very, very simple over at Relief Med. RELEAF med.com. This is no joke. Remember, LSU and Southern are the growers, and they are not they're not messing around. Coming January 1st, flower will be available. What's that?
The job titles on the web. Cannabis consultant. Where was this? You go to school for this?
Yes.
Who's a cannabis consultant?
That's just what they call them. What else? They have to come up with names for it now.
I think I've been unofficially a cannabis consultant for the last 25 years. But now that this is a legal trade, you know what I mean? I've been in the business for a decade now.
It's better for you than drinking alcohol. It's better for you than drinking
absolutely
alcohol.
It is.
I got to go dust off the old resume.
Absolutely it is. No, don't fool him, though. Just look at this guy. He fits the part. Yeah, right. Sit down.
I'll take him.
Relief Med, RELEAF med.com. Good show today. Shout out to everybody who is out there. Make sure you like, share, comment on the post before you get out of here. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., and we'll be talking shop. Come back with us. Go Chevrolet, driving us every day.